Politics Meet the Candidates, presented by the Dallas Examiner. I'm Molly Finch Belt, publisher of the Dallas Examiner. The Dallas Examiner has presented Monday Night Politics for over 12 consecutive years prior to elections. The Dallas Examiner does not endorse candidates. We seek to inform the community so that when they go to the polls, they are informed voters. All candidates who provide their email addresses on their applications when they file for office are invited to participate in Monday Night Politics. Monday Night Politics is not a debate, it's a forum designed to inform the community about the candidates' qualifications, their platform, etc. We could not present Monday Night Politics without our sponsors, who are nonprofit organizations, and they do not endorse either. In addition to Monday Night Politics, our website, www.dallasexaminer.com, has a section for voter education. Here you'll find current information about voting. Visit www.dallasexaminer.com. I would be remiss if I didn't mention two people who have worked with Monday Night Politics Meet the Candidates behind the scenes for over 12 years. The first person is Robin Jimenez, Vice President of Production and Editorial at the Dallas Examiner. The other person is Christy Thomas, Monday Night Politics Advisory Committee. We are happy tonight to have as our moderator Charles O'Neill. Charles is president of the Texas Association of African American Chambers of Commerce, and he was the first editor for the Dallas Examiner when the newspaper was founded by my father in 1986. Thank you for attending the forum tonight.
Good evening and welcome to this Valentine's Day edition of Monday Night Politics. This forum is brought to you by the Dallas Examiner newspaper for the 12th year because of the newspaper's commitment to the belief that an informed electorate will make the constituents that these candidates will serve are better informed, and therefore they'll make better decisions at the ballot box. Tonight we have a full slate of candidates for judicial races here in Dallas County. We'll start tonight with Dallas County Court at Law, number 1, the incumbent Judge Demetri Benson and challenger LaDouglas Johnson. So thank you both for being here tonight. We'll start with 2 minutes for opening statements. When we have talked to candidates for judicial races, we've asked them to include in their opening statements, if they will, kind of a description, because down ballot races, as you know, folk are kind of confused and they're looking for a name they're familiar with. So kind of describe what it is that your court specifically focuses on, and then your opening statement. Okay? And we'll start with Judge Benson. Mm-hmm.
Good evening. I'm Judge Demetria Benson. I'm the judge of County Court at Law number 1 here in Dallas County. Now, county courts at law are courts of record. What that means is that we have court reporters, and the cases that are heard will have documentation of what happened, and that can be appealed to the Court of Appeals. County courts hear cases involving evictions, debt collection, and just about any kind of civil case you can imagine involving a dispute over money. What we do not hear are cases involving family law, juvenile issues, probate law, or criminal law. So that's just a little bit of an introduction about what county courts at law do. Mm-hmm. Dallas County is unique in that we have 5 county courts at law that are considered super courts. So what is a super court? A super court is a county court at law that has the same kind of jurisdiction that a district court, a civil district court, has. That means there are no limitations on the size of cases that we can hear. We can hear a $5 case on appeal from the JP Court, or we can hear a $10 billion or $20 billion case, depending on what the issue is. So, a little bit about myself. I was elected in 2006. I was part of the big Democratic sweep. I have been practicing or licensed to practice law for 38 years. I'm a graduate of TCU and the University of Texas School of Law. My parents were graduates of Prairie View A&M, and my father was in the Air Force, so that meant that we spent a lot of time living in lots of different places, which made me a citizen of the world. It gave me a perspective beyond that of someone who's always lived in the same space and location. And I think that makes for a better judge because it gives you a broader horizon and an understanding of people different than yourselves. And so I think that has helped me to be the judge that I am today. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you so much. Mr. Johnson.
Good evening. My name is LaDouglas Johnson, and my mission is to take Dallas County Court at Law #1 from worst to first. Talk a little bit about my background. Educated at Duke University, majored in economics, came to Dallas to go to law school at Southern Methodist University, and I've been a part of this community, an active part of this community ever since. I've been volunteering all over Dallas for the past 22 years. As a matter of fact, in 2016, I was awarded the Volunteer of the Year Award. In 2017, I was awarded the Social Justice Award. Part of my work in the community led me to be selected to serve on the City Planning Commission for the City of Dallas, which is my most recent service, in addition to the Zoning Ordinance and Advisory Committee for the City of Dallas. Now, I'm not going to beat around the bush about why I'm running for this race. In 2021, the Dallas Bar Judicial Evaluation Poll published its evaluation of the courts in Dallas County. And Dallas County Court at Law #1 came in dead last in every measure. Dead last in preparedness, dead last in issuing timely orders, dead last in proper judicial temperament, dead last in every single measure. Now, you may think to yourself that 2021 was some sort of fluke, but that's unfortunately not the case, because County Court at Law #1 came in dead last in 2019, 2017, 2015, 2013, 2011, 2009. As a matter of fact, every judicial bar poll on record, Dallas County Court at Law #1 has come in dead last on every single measure, every single evaluation. Dallas County can do much better, and that's why I need your help to take Dallas County Court at Law #1 from worst to first.
Mr. Johnson, you stay there for this first question. If you can expand on, and if we can, we'll focus your responses to what you will do as a judge in county court.
Yes, sir.
At one, okay?
Yes, sir. What I'm going to do is be the person I've been, and that's an organizer and a fixer and a hard worker. I can give you a specific list of things that we're going to do. We're going to answer the phone. I'm not going to hire and employ staff who don't answer the phone, who don't answer emails, who don't set things for hearing, who keep my court disorganized. I'm not going to cancel hearings without giving proper notice. I'm going to show up and do the job. If it requires me to answer the phones myself, I'm going to answer the phones myself. We're not going to have a court that refuses to give access to the people, because without access to the court, we don't have access to justice. And without access to justice, what purpose does the court serve? The purpose of the court is to deliver justice, and that's what I intend to do when I'm elected.
Thank you. Judge Benson, talk about your court and any responses that you may want to make to what you just heard.
Well, the first thing I want to say is that my opponent has never appeared in my court, and he's basing his entire campaign on hearsay. For those of you who don't know what hearsay is, it's gossip and rumor. And I think it's important that you have a judge that makes their decisions based on facts and law. And that's what I do in my court. We run an efficient docket, we answer the phones, we set hearings, we reset hearings when emergencies require it. For example, when we had the ice storm recently, we reset hearings so that citizens would not be put at risk coming to the courthouse, or if they did not have access to electricity and technology during the ice storm. We are dead center on dispositions of cases, which means that we're not the fastest, but we're not the slowest. And that's what you want in a judge. You want someone who's going to be measured and tempered and who actually looks at the cases and rules based on the law, not someone who is going to be motivated by making the right people happy. One of the things that I noticed when I first took the bench was that there were certain types of cases involving collections or evictions where individuals that were indigent or perhaps less well educated had been taken advantage of by attorneys. And unfortunately, the majority of those people that were being taken advantage of were people of color. And so what I have done during the time that I have been on the bench is to ensure that due process is followed. Now, what does that mean? It means notice and an opportunity to be heard. It's one of our basic premises of justice. And so I ensure that due process is followed and that procedural and substantive due process, which is how you get to the court, how you get through the court, and whether or not you've got a valid claim before the court, to make sure that all of that is properly evaluated and that cases are heard as they should be. Thank you.
One of the things, and we'll ask this question for you both as well, we talked in other forums with judicial candidates about the Texas legislature targeting, if you will, the way judges are desired to be found, or they're appointed, or they question the qualifications, that kind of thing. Have you formed an opinion about how the legislature addresses the appointment or the election of judges?
If I understand your question, you're asking how I feel about whether judges should be appointed or elected. And my thought on that is that it doesn't matter what you do, you can't take the politics out of the situation. I've met judges from all over the world. Some have been appointed, some have been elected, some are appointed and then they run a retention election. But the bottom line is you can't take the politics out. If the judge is appointed, then the appointment is made by whichever party is in power at the time that the appointment is made. If judges are elected, it gives the people the opportunity to choose judges that they think will most fairly represent them and to do the job that judges have been called to do, which is to be fair to everyone, regardless of whether or not they're wealthy, regardless of whether or not they can afford an attorney. And so my thought is that it's a difficult situation because we want judges that are high-quality judges, but we also want judges that the people can trust. And if we have judges that are appointed by a party in power, whichever party that may be, that will create a certain amount of distrust in the other party who's not got the opportunity to appoint judges. So I think elections is the fairest way to do that because it gives both parties or people that are affiliated with both parties an opportunity to select the judge that they think is most qualified to handle that seat.
Very good. Thank you so much. Mr. Johnson, your thoughts on this?
I'm absolutely committed to the way our Constitution has designed for our judges to be selected because I'm absolutely committed to judicial accountability. Do you think for one moment that this judge would be here tonight or I would be here tonight unless we were accountable to the people for the job that we're asking us to empower you to empower us to do? No. The way our system designs our judicial selection process puts the power where it belongs, and that is in the hands of the people. Now, what that does is it gives the people the opportunity to fire somebody when they're not doing a good job. If this was some sort of judicial retention policy, the people wouldn't have that power. I believe that the people are intelligent enough, the people are smart enough, and the people know when someone's doing a bad job. There are tools out there to evaluate our judges when they're doing a good job and they're doing a bad job. You can look these things up yourself. You can look up the Dallas Bar Judicial Evaluation Poll online. This information is available about every judge in Dallas County. The judges that are uncomfortable with it are the judges who are performing poorly. You can look at the top of the list and you see we've got some stellar judges in this county. Like, for example, Judge Tanya Parker. Stellar judges in this county. We don't argue with those results. But when we see a judge who consistently, and I mean not just near the bottom, but when we see a judge who consistently comes in dead last in every single measure, in every single evaluation, then that's a job for the people to address. When you do a bad job, you get fired. It may not be the job for you. It's time to go on to your next opportunity. So I'm absolutely committed to electing our judges.
2 minutes for your closing statement.
All right. When I was first approached several years ago, actually, about running for this bench, I said no. Subsequently, I was approached again and again, and I refused again and again for different reasons, some personal and some, logistics. But a friend of mine came to me and spoke to me recently, about a year and a half ago, about this particular bench. And that person said something that stuck with me, and I'm going to share it with you. They said to me, the only thing, and you may have heard this before, but it hit me at the time, the only thing that injustice needs to succeed is for good people to do nothing. I tried to put it out of my mind. I couldn't. It resonated with me. And it caused me to think about doing this race and accepting this mantle and accepting this responsibility. Because it's true. The only thing that injustice needs for its success is for good people to do nothing. Now, I know each and every one of you who is out there listening to this debate is a good person because, one, you're probably Democratic, and two, you're staying up watching something that is not on, national TV. This isn't the Super Bowl. You've got to be interested in your community to be watching this debate, and I applaud you for that. I applaud you for being responsible to make informed decisions about who leads Dallas County. So one of the things that I'm asking you good people to do is to not do nothing. I'm asking you to help me, to trust me, and to help bring Dallas County Court at Law number 1 from worst to first. We are stewards of Dallas County as Democrats. We can do better. We should do better. That's our responsibility as the people to elect judges to do a good job. Thank you for your time. I'm LaDouglas Johnson, and I ask for your vote.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. And also, I'd like to Judge Benson, your turn, but just underscore the fact that this is a forum, not a debate, and that we are, as best we can, and this will be for future sessions on this particular night, we want to, as best we can, focus on what you will do rather than what your opponent is or is not doing. Thank you.
I want to thank you all for this opportunity to talk with you and tell you why I should be reelected. I have been a faithful steward of the trust that has been given to me by the citizens of Dallas County. For 15 years, I have toiled and I have worked to ensure that due process is available for all citizens that come into my court. The first year that I was on the bench, because I was not following the business as usual protocol that certain attorneys, many of whom participate in the bar poll that my opponent is so adamant about, an attorney came to me and said, "Judge, this is the way the game is played. You give us our judgments, and if nobody shows up, no harm, no foul. If somebody shows up, then you rescind the judgment and we start from scratch." And I said to that attorney, because I think integrity is important, I think the trust of the public is essential, I said to that attorney, I cannot in good conscience sign a judgment that I know is not good. And that rattled a lot of cages. There were lots of attorneys that were used to coming down to the courthouse and getting judgments against people without proving that they were entitled to those judgments. I put a stop to that. The majority of people that suffered from that practice were people of color. The people that benefited from that practice were attorneys whose focus was on collecting debts and ousting people from their homes without regard to whether or not they had been given notice, an opportunity to be heard, whether or not the debts that they were seeking to enforce were valid. Being a judge is a grave responsibility. It means that you carry the responsibility and the weight, the gravitas of making decisions that affect people's lives. And if I'm going to be castigated for doing what's right, then so be it. But I hope that that's the kind of judge you would like to have. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you again to our audience for listening to and learning from our candidates for Dallas County Court at Law, Mr. LaDouglas Johnson, the challenger, and incumbent Judge Demetria Benson. After a short break, we'll be back with you with candidates from Dallas County Court at Law number 3. Welcome back to Monday Night Politics. We have a slate of judicial races on tonight's calendar, and tonight we are speaking with candidates for Dallas County Court at Law number 3, the incumbent, Judge Sally Montgomery, and her challenger, Misty Mosteller. So thank you so much for you both being here tonight. As we've noted, we have 2 minutes for opening statements. I've asked other candidates if they would kind of inform the public about just what it is that your court does. And so we'll start with the incumbent, Judge Montgomery, to the mic. 2 minutes for your opening statement.
Okay, but I got it. I'm the short. Good evening. I'm Judge Sally Montgomery. I'm judge of County Court at Law number 3. It is a civil jurisdiction court of unlimited jurisdiction. We are the county courts that have the highest jurisdiction in Texas. So I can do anything from a multi-billion-dollar business case to a medical malpractice case to an eviction case to a debt collection case. And I've been doing this longer than anyone else. I am if you look at my record, the least reversed of judges with similar years of experience, 10 and up, in the county, and always have been from the beginning. It's a little background. I am a single mother with a very expensive college student, and he is just, for the first time, has his first girlfriend, just as a little personal thing. I'm real excited. Anyway, I was a former school teacher before with the Dallas Independent School District and was put up for Teacher of the Year. And I say this, and I also had 3 science degrees, 2 from SMU, was a teaching fellow at SMU, got accepted to med school, got a 4.0 at North Texas and a master's of science. And I say all of this because I took my classroom experience into the courtroom, where everybody has a turn getting to talk, nobody gets to interrupt. They get to confer a lot. I was the chairman of the committee that helped sponsor the law where attorneys can be ordered to mediation by judges. And I do that in all my cases in order to save money and expense for the parties. I am very conscious of people. I make sure that they have a translator if they need it, or they have attorneys to help them if they need it. I've got a bunch of volunteer attorneys. And as a result of this, I have been endorsed by 150, I think more than any other judge, attorneys.
We'll be back. Thank you so much, Ms. Mosteller.
Thank you for this opportunity. My opponent is a little confused about her reversal record. In fact, as far back as 2006, she was pronounced one of the most reversed judges in Texas, and in fact has an 80% reversal rate. I think it may be due to some funny math. But I'm here to clear things up. If you'll allow me to introduce myself, I'm Misty Mosteller, and I'm running for judge at County Court at Law number 3. I grew up in Oak Cliff, at Camp Wisdom in Polk. I was raised by a single mother who had to work 2 jobs so that we could survive. She worked nights at Redbird Mall selling china. I learned at an early age that everybody's not treated the same and the world isn't fair. And I'm running for judge because win or lose, when you leave a courtroom, you should feel like you were seen and you were heard and you were treated with respect. And though the world isn't fair, our courts should be. I am a practicing civil litigation attorney. I've been practicing for 22 years with DeHay and Elliston. I became a partner in 2008. I'm a certified mediator. I practice in 3 different states. I'm licensed to practice in Texas, Oklahoma, Michigan, and I do practice in all 3 states. I have tried cases in Dallas County, Bexar County, Tarrant County. I have managed hundreds of thousands of cases all over the great state of Texas, as well as Oklahoma and Michigan. I am qualified to do this job. I am a supporter of the AKAs. I have partnered with them in working, serving at the Hunger Busters, which is a great organization helping kids that have food insecurities, giving them meals. I have supported the Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity in scholarships. I have supported the IMA. I am a part of this community. I am here not because I'm running for a campaign. I have always been here, and I will always be the kind of judge that looks out and sees individual people for who they are, their life experiences, and what brought them into that court. Thank you.
Ms. Mosteller, will you, justice is blind, so it said. How will your election to county court at law change the way justice is administered in that court?
Well, first of all, I don't think justice is blind. I wish that it was. Although one of my goals is to eradicate bias on the bench. And I don't think that's how we go about it, is by saying we don't see color, we don't see differences in people. I think it's by saying we do see those things. I do see your differences. Because when I do that, I acknowledge your life experience as a person with black skin or brown skin or someone with a disability. And those things are part of the story that is happening in front of you in the courtroom. And so it's not something that should be dismissed or ignored. It's part of the account. It's part of the whole process. And as a judge, I will always be on guard for my own internal biases because, if you can't tell, I am a middle-aged white woman. That's just the lot I was given. And so I have to always be thinking about what's going through my head and check my own biases. And I'm going to make sure that the people in my courtroom that are working with me reflect the makeup of our community. And I want to make sure we all are always thinking, how can we be more fair? How can we be more understanding? And how can that lift people up that are in this difficult process of litigation? Because litigation, now it's not like criminal, obviously, but it is a very stressful, expensive endeavor. And I want to make sure that we are looking at it from all sides, all angles, and making sure everybody is treated fairly, respectfully, period.
Thank you so much. Judge Benson, Judge Montgomery, how will your being returned to the bench ensure that the public is served in the best way?
I do not know where my opponent came up with her reversal rate in my court, because the appellate attorneys have done a complete study at my request of my reversal rate. And I am the least reversed of all the judges based on all the official court records in the appellate court as well as district and county court. So I don't need to work on the law since I already have it down the best. I have been investigated for turning my cases so fast. It's like, how did you do that? It was the way I lined up my jury trials. So I don't know anyone else who's had that wonderful compliment, actually, by the county commissioners. I have had the fewest, probably, evictions of any judge because of my experience. I wrote the law used statewide on ethics and landlord-tenant law. And so as a result, with the resources I'm familiar with, I don't think I evicted anybody for failure to pay rent in the last 2 years of the pandemic. They know they're fairly heard. I treat them the same, and they don't get evicted. So, and the landlords want to give me flowers because they actually get their money. So it's a win-win for everybody. The attorneys really like me. It's both sides equally, plaintiff and defense, as well as appellate attorneys that practice in my court because they know they're going to be treated fairly and that I know the law and they're not going to waste their time in the appellate court. So I know there was a borough poll I didn't do very well on originally because I was the first woman judge, and as a result, I had a little problem with some of the guys. I was also pregnant, which was scandalous, and that's why I had this study done at my request by prominent attorneys who found out I was the least reversed. I had jury questionnaires and was granted excellent in everything from competence to attentiveness to patience to fairness, and so there's nothing, no attorney's ever asked me to change. Thank you.
The question we've asked the question we've asked all of our judicial candidates is your opinion, if you will, on whether or not judges are elected or appointed, something that has come up recently in the Texas legislature.
You should have known. Mm-hmm. I love that question. I actually had a national book agent and was going to write a book on that, did lots of research, still scattered all over my office, on the difference in appointed versus elected judges, as well as those that got appointed for a while and then ran for retention. And after all this research and having an author, I decided that being elected in the first place was best, because the people who care the most are those who actually generally attend either the Democrat or the Republican parties and get to hear the judges converse. And so I'm very much for the election of judges. I ended up not doing the book. And I had some issues that occurred with me early on, being one of the first women, back when women were suing to become partners in law firms, that made me want to look into this, and I did. I also looked into the bar poll. And the bar poll is sometimes accurate and sometimes not. So as a result of the study done on me, there's an 18-page report with footnotes on my website under issues that talks about my reversal rate, the bar poll, and how sometimes it tracks and sometimes it doesn't track. And in my case, with all the years of jury questionnaires where the jurors got to answer the questions of those 6 categories I referenced before, getting excellent in every one of those, I got on the Judiciary Committee for the Dallas Bar, along with some others, to give them some ideas on how to fix it. They didn't fix it, so there are 5 resolutions also on that webpage with the Dallas Trial Lawyers, Mesquite Bar, Irving Bar, Grand Prairie Bar, and North Dallas Bar Associations against the bar poll for it not using accurate information. Not that it's always wrong, and I do think we need something, and I'm going to be talking to the trial lawyers, the American Board of Trial Advocates, after this experience on the bar poll and the way it's being used, so that we can hopefully get it fixed through those associations.
Thank you very much. Your thoughts on elected versus appointed judges?
My thoughts are, Dallas County is a Democratic stronghold. It wasn't always that case. And so the idea of a Republican governor appointing all of the judges for Dallas County, well, I don't know about everyone out there, but it sends a shiver down my spine. I don't think that's fair when we have a party as strong as the Democrats here in Dallas, that they would be lauded over by all Republican appointed judges. I don't really think the issue so much is election versus appointed. I think there's value in people having a choice for who is going to be on their benches. I really think the issue is the money in these races, because it makes it very hard to challenge incumbents, because it's very expensive, and people often don't want to upset the incumbent judges, and so they don't want to fund other candidates' races. So it's just very difficult. I really think the root of the problem is the money, but I believe that Dallas County voters should have a choice in who sits on the bench, and so I approve of election.
Very good. All right. And 2 minutes, ma'am, for closing statements.
Well, just quickly, I'll say that not only has my opponent been reversed for not applying the law many, many times, but also for improper conduct. It's just a matter of public record. Also, I can understand how 1 or 2 bad polls, maybe it's a conspiracy, maybe it's misogyny, but 20 years of bad polls, I'm sorry, but when there's a smoke, there's fire, and in this case, where there's fire, there's an inferno. But let me say that I have also been endorsed by True Blue Democrats, the Next Generation Action Network. I have been endorsed by Lake Highlands White Rock Democrats. I have been endorsed by the Texas County Tejano Democrats, as well as the Texas Democrats with Disabilities. Now, speaking of endorsements, my opponent did falsely state that she was endorsed by the Interdenominational Ministerial Alliance. Now, that is a group of over 250 churches. It is also a nonprofit. They do not endorse, they cannot endorse. And so that statement, which was not true, which is bad enough, but also it jeopardized potentially the good work of this nonprofit organization. And so, side note to that, though, the president of the IMA, Pastor David Wilson, has told me personally he supports me, he's voting for me, as well as Pastor Marcus King, Minister Dominique Alexander, Pastor Nash, and I am endorsed by real people. I am funded by real grassroots people, people who believe in me and want to see a change on this bench, not by big, rich law firms that have a deep investment in keeping my opponent on the bench because it serves their needs. Thank you.
Thank you. And Judge Montgomery, 2 minutes for a closing statement.
Thank you very much for this opportunity. I have never stated that the IMA endorsed me. You won't see it on any of my literature. It was on my opponent's, what she was paying for at that particular convention where she said they endorsed her. So it's just the opposite. In the meantime, I will say I was invested on this bench by Dr. Don Campbell, president of Dallas Theological Seminary, assisted by Tony Evans of Oak Cliff Baptist Church, Bible Church. And I'm very proud of that. I have had equal numbers of plaintiffs and defense attorneys fund my campaign as well as endorse my campaign. And I have way more endorsements than my opponent. Everything from the 23rd Senatorial Tejanos, Stonewall Democrats, and you can tell who's behind all these, the different organizations, Mexican American Bar Association, President Hall of Democrats, the Teamsters, as well as East Dallas County Democrats, and many appellate attorneys, as well as the president of all the bar associations. I didn't ask for those endorsements. They called me up and asked to endorse me. My opponent says that she's tried these cases. She has never appeared, and everything I've said about my reversals is a matter of public record. My opponent has never tried a case in Dallas County. She's never been in my court. She's never filed a case in Dallas County. She has never responded to a case in Dallas County. She's done some pre-suit depositions only. That is, she has no experience in Dallas County whatsoever. So I'm asking for your support again. I am the judge with experience that had the fastest docket for a while. Pandemic has slowed us up, and I have the experience once this is over to get things moving again because I did it before. And I do it very fairly and accurately. Otherwise, go look at my website, www.sallymontgomery.com, see the report from the attorneys as well as all my endorsements. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Candidates for Dallas County Court at Law, Challenger Misty Mosteller and incumbent Judge Sally Montgomery. Thank you so much. We'll be back with you shortly with candidates for Dallas County Court at Law number 4. Installment of Monday Night Politics. Tonight we have with us candidates for Dallas County Court at Law number 4. We have the incumbent, Judge Paula Rosales, and the challenger, Diane Catherine Jones. Thank you so much for your both being present here tonight. The ground rules have been pretty laid out for you. 2 minutes for opening statements, 2 minutes on the second question as well. I let you all in all honesty, I've learned something tonight. Judge pulled me up short and say, you asked me to describe what I do, and it takes about 30 seconds for my opening statement. So we got to clear that up. We're going to fix that. So from going forward, I learned something tonight. So thank you so much. 2 minutes for opening statements to Judge Rosales.
Good evening, everyone. I am Judge Paula Rosales, the presiding judge of County Court at Law number 4. I am so happy to be here with you today. When I ran in 2018, I promised to make a court more equitable and fair. I also promised to change the tone of the court from an arrogant and ill-tempered judge to a more equitable and fair, where everyone would have a voice and where everyone would be treated with dignity and respect. Over the past 3 years, I have worked vigilantly to ensure that everyone will have a voice regardless of their financial situation, ability to speak English, or ability to hire an attorney. I have a very rigorous mentorship program where my students not only get to watch the behind the scenes, but I also take them into the community to ensure that the students are very well rounded into the needs of our communities. I read everything that comes before me. I am prepared for motions, I am prepared for trials, and I will take the time to study a case and then make a prompt ruling. I am endorsed by giants and pillars of our community. Congresswoman Eddie Bernice Johnson, State Senator Royce West, Commissioner John Wiley Price. I'm also endorsed by the Dallas Black Clergy, which includes Reverend Dr. Michael Waters, Reverend Dr. Freddie Haynes, Reverend Dr. Marcus King, and many other fantastic reverends that lead the spirit of our community. I am the one true Democrat in this field. My opponent is a lifelong Republican with a 100% Republican record. She is running in the wrong primary.
Ms. Jones, opening statement, 2 minutes, please.
Good morning, everybody. It's nice to see you, and I'm glad I could be here today. Happy Valentine's Day. My name is Diane Jones, and I'm running for Judge of County Court at Law number 4. The reason I'm running is because I believe that this is what I'm supposed to do in this season of my life. My credentials are as follows. I am raised in the military. I've lived all over the world in Europe. I am a minister of the gospel of Jesus Christ. I have been an elder at the Potter's House for 10 years. After I left the Potter's House, I have been in ministry, and I'm an ordained elder where I attend church now. I believe integrity is the key to everything. I am running because I believe I'm the most qualified for the bench. These benches come open every 4 years, and they allow you, the public, to choose who you want to sit on these benches. My background is I went to the University of Texas at Austin. There I was the founding member of the Black Student Alliance with lots of other people. We formed the Black Student Alliance. I was the first president. Then I came to SMU on a full scholarship, the Sarah T. Hughes Law Fellowship, where the Dallas Bar paid for me to go to law school and asked me to get involved in the community. When I got here, there were only 2 black partners in Dallas, Texas. I had to write the Dallas Bar and scold them for the fact that I had gotten into the University of Texas at Austin. And when I got here, the job they promised me didn't exist because they weren't hiring black associates at the time. So they created an associateship for me that year. And then what did they do? They created the Collins Scholarship for everybody behind me to be able to have an opportunity to work that received that scholarship. I'm admitted to the Supreme Court, the Fifth Circuit, the Fourth Circuit. I have appellate background. I have extensive litigation background. I've tried hundreds of cases. I was a judge of County Criminal Court number 11 back in 1999. I was picked by John Wiley Price. I have not been in any politics since then. Thank you.
Ms. Jones, and describe for us, one, your understanding of the court and its function and how it will be improved by your election.
My understanding of the court is it's a civil bench, and I'm sure you've heard the judges come before you and other people say it's a super court where we handle all kinds of cases. I have been practicing for 32 years. And as an experienced litigator, since October of 2018, I've tried 19 jury trials. The courts have been shut down as a result of COVID recently. However, in other counties, they're not shut down. And so I've still been trying cases. I believe that as the judge of this court, my responsibility is, now that we're coming out of COVID, is to come into these courtrooms and try these cases and be there however long it takes. Because there are people who are sitting there who have got lawsuits pending against them that have been pending for 2, 3, 4 years. And do you know when you have a lawsuit pending against you, sometimes you can't go out and buy a house. You can't refinance a car. So those things need to take place. So I'm committed to working hard and committed to making a difference. And with the issue of me being a lifetime Republican, that is not true. I was students for Jesse Jackson, and I helped, it was an incredible time. But when I lost my election, what I chose to do is to stay in the Republican Party. I'm the person who shows up at the events and tell them that when they say Barack Hussein that's inappropriate, that it's racist. I'm the person when Mitt Romney asked me to do a commercial for him, I said no. I'm that person who's fighting from the other side. So whether you think that's right or not, I will not apologize. Don't you know that if I wanted to be a judge, I could have went to the governor and got appointed to one of these open benches and then just switch sides? But no, I'm a person of integrity. I'm willing to come out here, join the party, bring my credentials, bring my commitment to people. I've been on the legal service. I helped with the purchase of the building downtown. I was on that board. Thank you.
Judge Rosales, your thoughts on what your court function is and how you're being returned to the bench. Will.
Okay, my court, County Court at Law Number 4 is a civil bench. We oversee anything, or preside over anything from the smallest personal injury to the largest medical malpractice case. We also preside over property disputes, contractual disputes, and we are the appellate court to all of the JP courts, including on eviction matters. Now, I am one of the first courts in Dallas County to have created a virtual courtroom, and I intend to keep it that way. I typically take a survey of attorneys and also self-represented litigants to ask them how they enjoy the virtual courtroom. And 99% of them will tell you that it has created such an opportunity to dispose of more cases because they do not have to waste their time driving to the courthouse, looking for a parking, etc. For self-represented litigants, this virtual courtroom has created an opportunity for them not to have to take off work and also be participants, and we have been able to decrease the number of default judgments. So this virtual courtroom will continue in place so long as we're not dealing with jury trials. Now, jury trials, as you all know, we have been in a pandemic situation over the past 2 years, and we will slowly, the Court Island Courthouse in Dallas County believes in public safety. Now, the trials that might have been taking place in Tarrant County, that's a different story. They are certainly a Republican-led county, but in Dallas County, we certainly believe in public safety. And as soon as we are decreased on our level of COVID risk, we will continue to preside over those cases. Now, my court has never stopped working. I have a docket from Monday through Friday, and I dispose of my case promptly, efficiently, and fairly.
Judge, we have asked other candidates their thoughts on elected versus appointed judgeships. And I wanted to add a little element to it and kind of describe to our viewers and listeners the value of money in judge races and or endorsements and what that value really is and what should an endorsement speak to folk who are getting ready to cast a ballot.
Thank you for the question. So I have been a judge under both systems. I have been an appointed judge and an elected judge. And as one of my colleagues, Judge Benson, previously mentioned, both ways have politics involved. In the first way, which is the appointed way, there are judicial nominating commissions that are created. And really depending on who is in the executive branch or in the legislative branch, that is how the committee members will be appointed. And therefore, under the appointment process, you run the risk of having a non-diverse commission that gets to select the courts. Whereas in the electoral system, you get to have the people that we serve have a voice on who will get to be their elected officials, including judges. Now, as to the campaign contributions, there is, in fact, a way to understand how judges are respected, how judges' character and integrity is valued, and that is by looking at who supports them. I am supported by both the defense bar and the plaintiff's bar. And when an attorney takes the time to contribute to your campaign, exercising their First Amendment right to do so, under the Texas Ethics Commission rules, then you can be confident that the judge that they are supporting or that the candidate that they are supporting is one that will serve the community. And so at this time, the contribution limits are a way of protecting any doubt that the public might have. We also have to file reports, financial reports, and as long as they are transparent and as long as you report everything, you should be confident that the public will know that you have integrity. And my reports have done just that.
Thank you so much. Ms. Jones, the same question to you. Your opinion, your thoughts on elected versus appointed judges and the role of endorsements and or campaign contributions make to a race.
Well, first of all, I believe in the election process. And the reason I believe that is I was appointed back in 1999. I was first judge of County Criminal Court Number Law, first county criminal court African-American woman to sit on a bench. And John Wiley Price selected me because he played a key role in opening that court. It was a family violence court. And I had to run immediately after I was appointed, and I had to run a couple more times. And I had the support of everyone. In fact, I vacated that bench to run for a district bench at a higher level because no one was even running against me because of the level of integrity that I operated in. And I believe that's important because I watched a lot of people lose during that election, and they clearly needed to go. There were people that had been there too long, that had become jaded, that were putting people in jail and incarcerating people for long periods of time, and it wasn't appropriate. So I was actually happy to see the switch and see the change and see the county change over. Now, with regard to endorsements, my opponent is endorsed by pastors. I never was even talked to by those pastors. I don't even know. I know Michael Waters because I was his campus minister at SMU when I was on campus at the University of Texas at Arlington and SMU for 5 years, where we ministered Bible study and did Friday night fellowships. But I didn't pick up the phone and call him. I didn't pick up the phone and call John Wiley Price. I didn't pick up the phone and call Eddie Bernice Johnson. I didn't pick up the phone and call Royce West. Royce and West and I do a banquet for the last 20 years for Boy Scouts of America, where we raise $3.5 million. The budget is $3.5 million, but we raise money for urban scouting for Latinos and Hispanics. A friend of mine for that many years is endorsing Paula Rosales. I was told that the issue was that they want people like me to join the party, but I came in running. I came in bringing my credentials with me, and I didn't bow down and apologize. Thank you.
And they're here in 2 minutes for closing statements. It's you. Okay.
My name is Diane Jones. I'm running for judge of Dallas County Court at Law number 4. The reason I'm running, because I believe that this is a time such as this, I'm supposed to run. That is really why I'm running. I prayed about it. I sought the Lord. I decided I wasn't going to run. And then I got a call and somebody asked me to run. And they said numerous people gave them my name. Why this bench? I felt like the Lord was leading me in this direction. You may not agree. You may think, oh, that's not God. It's up to you. It doesn't matter. I feel like I'm being obedient and I'm running. I'm offering my credentials. I'm offering my personality, my integrity. And I am committed not to take large amounts of funds from attorneys that practice in my courtroom so that I don't fear having to rule against them. That's where my commitment is. Additionally, I am committed to the party. Whether I win or lose, I am no longer a member of the Republican Party. I've left the party. This is a clear message that I'm gone. This voter disenfranchisement, what is happening in this country is an abomination. And that's why I'm here. And that's why I'm a part of this party. And I am going to be a good judge when you elect me. I'm going to do everything to make my courtroom fair. I'm going to do everything to help this party make a shift and continue to go in the direction that it's going. But this party also needs to be aware that most people are independent voters, such as myself. Even though I was in the Republican Party, I just continued to vote there. I continue to give money to all the Democratic judges because I worked in their courtrooms. And I continue to support Democratic candidates. For the most part, I'm an independent. But yes, I am in this party. I'm here. And I hope that you'll vote for me. I hope that you'll consider it. And for all you pastors out there that have endorsed my candidate, my only question to you is, did you pray?
Thank you so much. Judge Rosales, 2 minutes for a closing statement, please.
Okay. The abomination started way before today. It was present in 2016 when Donald Trump ran. It was present in 2020 when Donald Trump ran. My opponent has a 100% Republican voting record. She is supported by Trump super donors and by Ted Cruz super donors. She was recruited specifically for a personal vendetta to run against me by an insurance industry insider. Now, the reason she is not supported by all of the pillars of our community in the Democratic Party is because everyone that knows her knows that she is a staunch Republican. Now, 2022 will be a very dangerous and hard year for Democrats. All of us need to do what we can to ensure that we turn out the vote, to ensure that we talk with every Democratic voter with solid democratic principles. The only candidate in this field that is a true and unwavering Democrat is me, Paula Rosales. Now, the reason why I have such a stellar list of endorsements is because the members of our community have seen me work over the past 20 years. I have registered voters, I have knocked on doors for Democrats up and down the ballot. I have been a delegate to the National Committee when President Barack Obama ran for re-election. I have also been present in the community by mentoring law school students, mentoring high school students. I was a mock trial coach for 4 years at a DISD school, and they have seen the work that I've done. I am asking for your support. I am Judge Paula Rosales, the presiding judge of County Court at Law Number 4. I'm the only Democrat in this field, and I'm asking for your support. Thank you very much.
Thank you both to Judge Paula Rosales, the incumbent for Dallas County Court at Law Number 4, and the challenger, Diane Catherine Jones. Thank you both for your attendance tonight. Just for a quick note to our viewers, we have made effort to ask each of the races about the same kind of question. So if it seems repetitive to you, is just to give all of our candidates a chance to weigh in on about the same issues that are reflected in their individual races. To the extent we can, as we move forward, we want to make sure that our candidates in the forum understand that it is indeed a forum, not a debate. We don't want, if you cannot articulate your positions without disparaging your opponent, that's kind of out of the park of what we're trying to do here. We're here to illuminate or educate our constituents, your constituents, and our viewers and listeners. And so to the extent that you can, make your comments about your race, your reasons for running, about your qualifications rather than disparage your opponent. So thank you. And we'll be back shortly with you, Dallas County Court at Law Number 5, Juan Renteria and Nicole Taylor. We'll be back with you shortly. And welcome back to this segment of Monday Night Politics, presented by the Dallas Examiner. Tonight we have with us candidates for Dallas County Court at Law Number 5. We have the incumbent, Judge Juan Renteria, and the challenger, Nicole Taylor. Thank you both for being with us tonight. We will follow pretty much what we've done with other judicial races. We've asked each of those candidates that have preceded you kind of describe what that court function is, just for edification of our listeners and viewers. But we'll do that in our second question. First question will be an opening statement, 2 minutes for that, and you'll both get that 2 minutes. Judge, we'll start with you, opening statements.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Juan Renteria, and I am your Dallas County Court at Law Number 5 judge. I was appointed by the Dallas County Commissioners Court back in September, and let me tell you how we got here. Number one, there was a group of people that were asked to apply. I was asked to apply along with my opponent. We both applied. I was selected by the Dallas County Commissioners Court for two principal reasons. Number one, my prior judicial experience as a judge for the city of Dallas, and number two, for my service to the community. Immediately prior to being appointed, I was actually on the school board for Carrollton Farmers Branch ISD, where I served for almost a year. Now, let me tell you what I've done since I've been on the bench. Since I've been on the bench, I've garnered the support of the community. I've made the courts more accessible, and I've been recognized as the most efficient court out of all the county courts that are tracked, and that is by the Office of Court Administration. What does that mean? That means I'm efficient at getting the cases resolved, at signing orders, and at making sure that the court is operating efficiently to make sure everyone gets their day in court. Again, my name is Juan Renteria. You can get more information about me at www.voteforjuan.com. A vote for Juan is a vote for justice. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Ms. Taylor, opening statement, 2 minutes.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Nicole Taylor, and I'm a candidate for judge for Dallas County Court at Law number 5. Now, this is an open bench it's until the citizens of Dallas County elect a new judge for the bench. I have 22 years of experience. I've tried more than 300 cases in federal and state court before the bench and jury trials, and the majority of my experience has been in this court. I was encouraged to run for this seat by the retired judge Mark Greenberg, who created this open bench, along with other retired county court at law judges. They have witnessed my advocacy, my hard work and preparation, and they believe that I can do the job, and I agree with them. I have, as I mentioned, 22 years of civil litigation experience, trying more than 300 cases. And why is that important? Civil litigation experience matters because that allows you to understand how the court is administrated. It allows you to be able to dispose of cases that are before the bench because you've actually tried the cases. And my experience will add significant value to the court. I'm a true public servant. I've been a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated for 26 years and served in leadership on the local, state, regional, and national level. I've also served as a precinct chair for the Democratic Party. I've registered hundreds of voters as a deputy voter registrar, and I volunteer with the Texas Democratic Lawyers Association to protect your rights to vote. I'm also a member of the Texas Trial Lawyers, where I've served as a chair of diversity. My voting record speaks for itself. I'm a true Democrat, and the service that I provided for the party shows that my commitment not only to the citizens of Dallas County, but to the party for which I'm running for this seat. And I hope that I can earn your support. Looking forward to speaking with you more tonight.
Okay, Ms. Taylor, and how will county court at law be improved, if you will, by your being elected to that seat?
Thank you for that question. I believe it'll be improved because, as I mentioned before, civil litigation experience matters. And the experience that I have specifically in this court will add significant value to the court. Some things that I would like to do once elected to the bench, you've heard from the other judges that the virtual trials help to expedite the docket. I agree. I feel like it provides more access to the court. It allows citizens to participate as parties and not have to leave their jobs or worry about childcare for their kids. I want to increase access to the courts by allowing parties to participate in the Dallas County Alternate Dispute Resolution Center, which we have on site at the building. And it also provides an opportunity for litigants who can't afford attorneys to have their cases disposed of quickly. And lastly, we have citizens who are not able to speak English as their first language. And I would love the opportunity to partner with certified interpreters, which the county has a list of. However, they're not always offered to the litigants who don't speak English, to give them an opportunity to fully participate in the process of the court to defend their case or prosecute their case.
Thank you. Judge Renteria? How will the court benefit by your being returned to this seat?
Well, as I mentioned before, I've been recognized as having the most efficient court. I've implemented some changes, and some of those changes include offering additional days for not just hearings, but for certain types of trials. For example, the trials that are actually the most abundant in our court are landlord-tenant cases or eviction cases. I've opened up extra days to make sure that those cases are heard in a timely manner and allow the people that their day in court. Number two, as I mentioned, I sorry, I thought you were calling me. I have also implemented changes, including the fact that I am trying to implement a e-sign for orders, which should become effective very shortly. I still have to get trained on the system, but that's something that I'm looking at. I essentially want to be able to be the first judge to implement that, so I can essentially market it to my colleagues. And it's something that I'm really interested in. I'm kind of a tech nerd. I want to make sure that the courts are up to date, they're efficient, and they're accessible to people who may not have the resources, may not have the time to properly address their cases, and especially right now during the pandemic, I think that's very important. So that's what I plan on doing and continue to do as I've been doing since taking the bench.
Okay. We've asked other candidates for judicial for bench seats their thoughts on elected versus appointed judges, and I'd like to hear your thoughts. And also, and most recently, we added in the value of endorsements and campaign contributions to influence the voting public.
Well, do I think that endorsements are important? Sure, I do think endorsements are important. They do, I guess, show the voters certain aspects of the candidate or of their support. As far as appointed versus elected judges, I've actually been able to do both. So I've been appointed as a judge with the city of Dallas, and I got this appointment as well through the Dallas County Commissioner's Court. But I do believe in our system as it is now. Now, is it perfect? Absolutely not. I think that there's ways to improve the system, the way it currently stands. But I do think that, at least as it stands at the moment, that the people are the final arbiters or the final decision makers of the current process. And irrespective of the amount of money you've raised, irrespective of anything else, if you believe in the candidate and you're able to vote, then your voice is heard.
Thank you very much. Ms. Taylor, same question.
Thank you. I agree. I believe that elections matter. I think it's important that the decision of who represents you on the bench is your decision and not the decision of a body that may not represent you or look like you. So I believe we should have elections. Now, to answer the question regarding the endorsements and the campaign contributions, let's start with the endorsements. I received the endorsements of the Lake Highland White Rock Democrats, the Stonewall Democrats, the East Dallas County Democrats, as well as the Preston Hollow Democrats. And I just received the Teamsters endorsement as well, along with John Wiley Price, Royce West, and a number of the honorable Madranos, Pauline Madrano, Ricardo, and Roberto Madrano. The endorsements are important because, especially with the Democratic Party, the parties do a lot of work in vetting the candidates that they endorse. They've reviewed our credentials, they've interviewed us, and the club votes. So it's a democratic process. And they have taken the opportunity to get to know us, to provide information to their constituents so that they understand the endorsement process has been fairly followed, and they believe that we are the best candidates. As far as donations are concerned, the donations you receive are from attorneys who believe that you will best serve the representation on the bench. And so when you raise a large number of dollars, it's not for influence. It's because they've evaluated you and your opponent, and they've determined that you are the one who they believe will best serve Dallas County on the bench. And so the donations are important. The endorsements help with the vetting process, and we should always trust you, the Dallas County voters, to elect the best judge for the bench.
Very good. And 2 minutes for our closing statement.
Thank you so much. As I mentioned, my name is Nicole Taylor. I'm a candidate for this seat. I was vetted by the judge who retired that created this open bench. Judge Greenberg was always a fair judge. Whenever you were in front of him, you knew that there was no bias. You knew that you would receive a ruling the same day, that you and your client would be treated with dignity and respect. And his legacy is a legacy that I plan to continue. He's vetted me along with the other retired county court of law judges who have all encouraged me to move forward because they've witnessed my advocacy. I want you to remember that civil trial experience matters. 22 years, more than 300 cases, shows you that I know my way around the courtroom and that I will be a great judge on the bench. I will understand how to move the process along to ensure that you have a fair hearing and you will always be treated with dignity and respect. And my service to the community is documented not only through my sorority, but also through the service that I've done for Dallas County Democratic Party and just citizens in general. I'm a mentor, I love people, 2-year breast cancer survivor, I support single moms with breast cancer. So my heart is for service. And at the end of the day, this bench is a seat of service and not of power. So allow me, Dallas County, to represent you as the next County Court at Law judge for County Court at Law number 5. I would greatly appreciate your support. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. And Judge Renteria, closing statement, 2 minutes.
Thank you again for having us and giving us the opportunity to be here tonight. As I stated before, I was selected out of a pool of candidates that were vetted prior to taking the bench. After taking the bench, I have been recognized as the most efficient court in all of Dallas County, County Court at Laws. I have implemented changes that are making the court more accessible and fair to the citizens of Dallas. I have a record of service as well. I was on the Carrollton Farmers Branch ISD School Board immediately prior to being appointed. I am asking that the citizens look at the candidates, look at their experience. I have 17 years of experience as a judge and as a trial lawyer. The information is out there. We can be up here and we can try to petition for your vote, but I'm asking, go out and see what's available, all the information that's out there. You will notice that after you look at the information that's out there, after you review what I've done and what I promised to do, that you will only come to one conclusion, and that is to vote for Juan. Again, I am asking for your vote. I think a vote for Juan is a vote for justice, and I'm asking you to keep me on the bench. Thank you for your time.
And thank you so much. The incumbent, Judge Juan Renteria, and the challenger, Ms. Nicole Taylor, that is Dallas County Court at Law number 5. Thank you both so much for your being. We'll be back with you shortly with Dallas County Criminal Court at Law number 1. Again for joining us tonight on Monday Night Politics. We've had a fairly spirited kind of forum tonight. We've been talking to candidates for Dallas County Court at Law. We've tried our best to make sure that our viewers and listeners are aware of the distinctions between kinds of courts. And tonight, our first candidate for a county court at law, county criminal court at law, is with us, and we'll ask Ms. Mays to kind of explain to us the distinction between the kinds of courts that we will be discussing. We have asked each of our candidates, in this case, Ms. Mays is here on her own. There is another an opponent, the incumbent, is not present with us tonight. So we'll go through our regular deal, 2 minutes for opening statements. We'll ask you a couple of questions and then get you a closing statement, okay? And so without further ado, Ms. Marilyn Mays is the candidate for Dallas County Criminal Court at Law number 1.
Good evening. I'm Marilyn Mays, the people's candidate for Dallas County Criminal Court number 1. I'm running for this seat because citizens accused need fairness and accessibility. And I feel like I'm the kind of person that can bring that. I can bring them that kind of access and accountability. Now, I've had friends that say, why in the world would you run for a misdemeanor bench? Because this is a criminal court where citizens are charged with offenses. You have 30 years of felony experience, which include murder, sex offenses, robbery, aggravated robbery, child offenses. I do family advocacy representing children. Why in the world would you run for something this small? This is not small. This is where everything starts with these misdemeanors. The maximum you can get with a Class A would be 1 year confinement with a $4,000 fine. And people think that's nothing, but that's everything. This can prevent kids from getting college scholarships. This can do all kinds of harm if these cases are enhanced to felony offenses. And so this is so important. And to me, this is where it starts. This is where everything starts. And I feel like based on all my experience that I can make a difference. And I know I can, just based on the things that I've been through, the people that I have helped. And so that is why I'm running, asking for your support. I know I can do a good job. I know the criminal justice system. I know how to use all the resources that can actually help people and get them back on track, or at least attempt to get them back on track. And so that is why I'm here today asking for your support.
We've, in talking with other candidates, we've heard comments about improved efficiency in the courtroom, using virtual courtrooms and all kinds of fairly new ways of delivering justice. But tell us how you're being elected to County Court at Law number one will improve that court.
You know, technology is magnificent, but we need to get back to basics with helping people. And you have so many homeless people, and you have so many people that get off track. There are so many different resources. I never intend to reinvent the wheel. There are so many resources down in Dallas County that can help people get back on track. I mean, different judges have different programs. I intend to send people to the program that will best meet their needs. And so, for instance, with the homeless and with the mentally ill, I've had all kinds of experience with diverting people to different processes, to different programs, which basically save their lives. And so, give you a prime example. I had one client, and she had mental health problems, and they just wanted to give her prison time. But when we diverted her to a mental health clinic, to a mental health program down in Dallas County, I ran into her 2 weeks ago, and she hugged me and thanked me for saving her life. There's all kinds of basic things you can do. You don't always have to be on the computer clicking. You just need to divert people to the program that meets their needs. And so that's what I do best. That's how I even help the clients that I have that are charged with felonies. That's how I help the child advocacy cases that I have. I know how to divert them to the program that best meets their needs, and I'm good at it. And so based on my experience, I can divert those folks. For instance, the homeless. There are all kinds of things that you can do to help them. And so many homeless people have mental health issues, and that's why we see people on the corners begging. You know, there are places they can stay, but if you can get to the roots of those mental health programs and the mental health problems they have, you can save some lives.
I mean, the diversion programs, I mean, it sounds so simple when you describe it. So why isn't it happening all the time?
Some people are slipping between the cracks. Some people know how to pretend they don't have issues, and they slip between the cracks. So they purposely, you know, they want that freedom, they want that life, they're living on the streets. But if you will basically say, okay, as a condition of your release, you're going to have to go to this program and work this program, you're going to see a difference in the lives of people. If you're going to make that a condition of release, is that you get help. Like Mary is out there somewhere. I made Mary get the mental health that she needed, the mental health resources that she needed, and Mary is living a good life now.
And I have asked you this, I think, one way, and I'm going to try to come around and ask it again. What is it about what you bring to the court that will improve that court?
I bring compassion. I bring community involvement. I'm deeply rooted into this community and committed to helping people. For the past 30 years, I've made it my best effort to do everything I can to divert people to programs. I feel like as the judge of Dallas County Criminal Court number 1, I can direct people to get the services that they need. And like I say, there are so many agencies here that are willing to help people. You just need somebody to direct them and make that mandatory, and not that they can just decide whether or not they want to do it.
Well, we've asked all the candidates what their opinions are on whether we have elected or appointed judges. And I'll ask you the same thing. And also, as we progress through the thing, we've added in, what's the real value of endorsements to a judicial race?
I strongly believe that people should be elected. The people should decide who represents them. People need to look around and see who's working in their interest and elect them. Now, the courts are not a social agency, but there are so many things you can do to get people on track. And so the community needs to know that when somebody comes through the court system, they're going to get some help. Now, you talked about the appointed system, and I just believe in the elected system. But what I've seen in the Dallas County criminal courts is that when people leave their benches ahead of time, and with Dallas being Democratic and the governor is a Republican, he appoints people to fill those positions until it's election time again. And we've been so fortunate in that the people that Governor Abbott put in these positions have been excellent and have been fair.
Okay,
So
very good. 2 minutes for closing statement.
I'm asking you, as a community advocate, to elect me to Dallas County Criminal Court #1. I promise you that this is going to be in the best interest of the Dallas community. I have been an advocate for this community for all the years that I've lived here. I was born in Dallas, in Short North Dallas. I still live in the house on my birth certificate, and it'll probably still be on my death certificate. I love this community. I love all of Dallas. I am Dallas. I am a graduate of the University of Texas. I'm licensed to practice in the federal courts in the Northern District of Texas. I'm Dallas, and I just believe that I am in Dallas's best interest. I am the best person for this position at this given time. Now, I serve on South Fair Community Development Corporation as a board of directors. We build affordable housing in this Dallas community. I serve on my Bertrand Neighborhood Association. We take care of our neighborhood, our neighbors, and that's just who I am. I serve on I'm a life member of the Dallas NAACP, and for years I've assisted people all over the state of Texas with when their civil rights have been violated, when people have attempted to steal their land or have discriminated against them. For years I've been an active member of this Dallas NAACP. I've been a precinct chair and active with the Dallas Democratic Party for over 25 years. And I've served on committees in the Democratic Party, just been active precinct chair, election judge. I'm just a community person. That's what I do. I wouldn't know how to do anything else. And I truly believe you cannot represent a community. You cannot judge a community if you don't know the community. So this is Marilyn Mays. I'm asking you to elect me as the next judge at Dallas County Criminal Court #1.
Thank you so much. Marilyn Mays, candidate for Dallas County Criminal Court at Law #1. Thank you so much. Next up will be Dallas County Criminal Court at Law #10. Thank you. Good evening and welcome back to the Valentine's Day edition of Monday Night Politics. We have had a full slate of candidates for Dallas County judicial races from county courts at law, and now we're in our second race with Dallas County Criminal Court at Law #10. Two of the three candidates in that race are present, Monique J. Bracy Huff and Alyssa Webb. And we thank you both for being here with us tonight. Judge Mullen is not present tonight. And so we will start with opening statements, 2 minutes. We'll go alphabetical order. Ms. Huff, you can go first. 2 minutes for opening statement.
Okay, good evening. My name is Monique Bracy Huff. I just got married in July of last year, so this is my first Valentine's Day with my new husband, so I want to take a few moments to say, Happy Valentine's Day, baby. Thank you for being here. I am running for judge of Dallas County Criminal Court #10, and it is a specialized court, as in it is one of the 2 family violence courts in Dallas County. So primarily, this court deals with assault family violence cases, as well as violation of protective order and sometimes interference with emergency phone calls. I'm running for this race based on my experience. I have an undergraduate degree in social work where I interned in domestic violence shelters, worked with victims that needed emergency housing when they were the victim of domestic violence and needed that safe place to stay for them and their families. I then came to Dallas and went to SMU Dedman School of Law for law school, where I worked in domestic violence shelter locally. Again, answering that hotline and helping women who were in a domestic violence situation, as well as providing crisis counseling and resources as they needed. And then I interned in the Family Violence Unit of the Dallas County District Attorney's Office so that I learned what it's like to prosecute these family violence offenses. Then I switched and started my own practice, and for the past 13 years, I've actually been practicing criminal defense, defending individuals charged with these family violence offenses. So when I say I have a holistic view of family violence, how it affects both victims, their families, and the accused, I mean it. I really want to run for this bench because I believe this misdemeanor bench is a bench of opportunity. We have the opportunity to educate individuals. 3 million children each year are exposed to domestic violence in their household. What can we do to stop this cycle? I want to introduce pretrial diversion programs so we can start to educate individuals so that they know that they have different choices they can make. Thank you for this time, and thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you. Ms. Webb?
Hi, good evening. My Valentine is also Doug Huff, Monique's husband, so that's a little bit awkward. It's just a bit of a joke to get my nerves out of the way. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Alyssa Webb, and I'm a Democrat running for judge of County Criminal Court 10, a domestic violence court. A little bit about my background. I have committed my legal career to public service here in Dallas County. After graduating from the University of Texas School of Law, where I also did my undergraduate, thanks in Hookham, I came to Dallas to work as a public defender serving low-income communities here in Dallas. That meant I was often working with clients from some of our hardest hit communities when it came to disparate policing practices and criminal prosecution. You do not have to do the work of being a public defender or criminal defense attorney for more than a full day in court to know that when you're coming from a low-income setting or an immigrant community, these sentences, which may appear the same on paper as your more wealthier counterparts, are going to have a greater harm on you. And the screw, unfortunately, does get twisted harder on our young black and brown men. My view of our system is rooted in that work. But it's my expertise that makes me, I believe, the most qualified candidate for this bench. After leaving the public defender's office, I joined the district attorney's office where I had the chance to work as a family violence prosecutor. I served under 3 administrations. I was the chief of our other family violence court, County Criminal Court 11. And I also worked in our felony family violence division where I litigated murders, aggravated assaults, and strangulation cases happening in intimate partner violence relationships. My expertise in this area of the law is unique to my candidacy, including against the incumbent. But it's my goal for what I want to do with this court, and I'll spend my last 2 minutes in closing explaining my views for where we can take how we as a community respond to the generational curses and trauma of domestic and dating violence. Thank you.
But let's expand on that a little bit right now, if you don't mind. Down ballot, and I'll call them down ballot races, but judicial races typically are the last ones. People don't know what
you don't have to do me like that, Mr. Williams.
Don't even know what you do. So kind of explain to people how your presence on that bench will lead to the kind of outcomes that you described.
So as my opponent mentioned, this is a misdemeanor court, meaning we are handling Class B and A offenses that have a family violence component. And you've heard me say domestic violence, dating violence, intimate partner violence. The term under Texas law is family violence. And what that covers is violence in dating relationships, also violence within families, and roommate violence. So who you're hooking up with, who you're related to, or who you live with. But by and large, the focus of these courts is relationship violence, dating violence. So that thing that I want to bring to this court is a diversion program. There currently isn't any opportunity unique to County Criminal Court 10 for diversion. And my view for that is based on this. We have an opportunity, especially when we're talking about young people. And by and large, in some of these lower level offenses, you're seeing young people 25 and under who are already parents repeating the trauma and abuse that they either witnessed or experienced themselves as children. And instead of simply being punitive and giving that lock 'em up answer, that tough on crime response, instead of just taking that pound of flesh, I believe that we can offer our young people an opportunity to take accountability and also provide them the tools to heal that underlying trauma so that we are supporting safer romantic partners and also safer parents. That diversion program, the specifics of which I haven't worked out yet, and here's why. I'm an expert in this area of law, but I'm not an expert in psychology, sociology. the intersections of race, class, gender, disability, so on and so forth. So I am committed to bringing in the leading experts of those fields, as well as various community advocacy groups, whether it be victims advocacy groups and shelters, as well as men's groups and young men's mentorship groups, into the courtroom and say, this is your courtroom, tell me, how do we start to address this better and provide that venue for our community?
Very good, thank you. Mrs. Suff, same question. How will the court be improved with your election?
Well, one of the things that I have spoke about during my campaign is I want to use that social work background that I have. I want to use that social work background to write grant programs to bring, again, a pretrial diversion program into that court. I have worked with indigent clients. I do appointment works, and what I found in it is that many clients don't have access to services that they can actually afford. Not everyone knows that they're going to end up in the criminal justice system, and they definitely don't know they're going to have an assault family violence case. Many opportunities are given that they can get this case dismissed or get a lesser punishment if they complete anger management or batterers intervention and prevention program known as BIP. So my pretrial diversion program is I want to bring those programs into the courtroom. All right, we already use the space for other pretrial diversion programs. Why not use it for another one, specifically geared towards domestic violence? I want to use that grant money to provide for instructors to come to the courtroom or via internet and provide those classes right there. That way, for those individuals who are less internet savvy, they're already providing the computers and other essential items needed right there in the classroom so that they can focus on the course and what it provides. Also, I want to start dealing with the cost of things. All right, your BIP class, usually there's $100 to $125 orientation fee. The course lasts for approximately 6 months with one class per week. And then you have to pay a fee of usually about $25 per class. So when you have indigent individuals who are making the choices between paying the electric bill or paying for a class, they're going to pick the electric bill every time. They're going to pick rent every time. But let's waylay some of these courses so that they understand the opportunity that these programs provide so that you're not walking away from court with convictions. And that's really the problem with these family violence courts, is that a lot of people do not understand the power of convictions. It prevents you from getting jobs. It can prevent you from getting primary custody for your children.
So,
Thank you.
So we heard about these programs that seem to solve all the issues that arise from these courts. And you described them very graphically, right? So why aren't they, what is it that's keeping them from being implemented right now?
Well, I think specifically, if we are going to focus on the court in which I'm running for, I think the court is just being run inefficiently. So when individuals can't get representation and can't get an attorney to kind of walk them through the benefits of participating in this program and why it might be worth a little bit more to borrow from a cousin or stuff like that so that you don't deal with these family violence consequences, I don't think they're getting those tools provided to them. Specifically, when I say the inefficiency of this court has drawn 2 challengers to this court because of courts running inefficiently. I want a court where justice is not delayed, because we all know that justice delayed is justice denied. When private attorneys charge 2 to 3 times more to provide services in this court just because it's assigned to this court, we have a problem. When appointed attorneys will not provide services in this court and accept appointments because they are not paid for the time that's wasted in that court, we have a problem. So we have individuals who are charged with cases and sitting in jail because they can't get representation. And when you're sitting in jail 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and you've already lost your job, possibly lost your apartment because you're not paying rent and out there making those funds, then the last choice you're left with is, do I just take time served and end my case so I don't have to pay any more fees or do any classes? Or do I get out of jail, spend additional money for a class, and then get it dismissed? Well, they're going to take the easy choice. They're going to take that time served. And with that conviction, we've already talked about the consequences of that. And with that conviction, they don't learn anything. We make no steps towards ending the cycle of domestic violence. We make no steps towards teaching them that they might have another option out there. They might have another choice that's more powerful and can teach new things to their family. They can bring something home to their children and family members at home that might stop that cycle of domestic violence that my fellow candidate was talking about. So that's the importance of these programs and these pretrial diversion programs.
Very good, thank you. Mr. Webb, one more cut at it, how your election to this bench will make these kinds of programs part of the standard operating procedure of that court.
So something when we're talking about intimate partner violence, we're really talking about social emotional learning. And a question that I've started to pose when I'm speaking in front of crowds is, who taught you how to break up with somebody? And the answer is probably nobody. And a lot of us are really bad at it, myself included. It's that basic idea of, what do we do with our big, scary feelings? How do we treat somebody when our feelings towards them are hurt? It seems like elementary stuff, but it goes well beyond just keeping your hands to yourself. And so what I would like to do is have the court be a venue for, like I said, accountability through healing, but most importantly, a space for learning. You know, oftentimes when somebody is going in front of a judge, the concern is, am I dressed the right way? Am I going to say the right thing? Am I going to wound up thrown in jail? And I think when a person has had to catch the bus to even get to court, if they show up in shorts and a tank top, you know what? My response to them is going to be, thank you so much, Mr. or Mrs. So-and-so, for being here. I'm glad you can make your court date, because it really shouldn't matter. Life is hard enough as it is out there, and someone has a criminal charge hanging above their head that could cost them their livelihood, their housing, their child custody, their liberty, or their ability to stay in this country. So I think a unique thing that I would want to make a part of that diversion program, and really just my view on how we can be better in our criminal justice system at large, is treating people like human beings with their full humanity and dignity. I've got 30 seconds left on this clock, and something else I want you to know about me is this. 40% of the population here in Dallas County is Latino. I call myself a 1.5 generation American. My mom's an immigrant from Nuevo Laredo, Mexico. I was raised in a loving bilingual home. Wev, it comes from my daddy, is a white guy with red hair and blue eyes that charmed her at a young age. But I say that because we have a great need for Latino and Spanish-speaking judges on our bench. I've been a benefactor of some excellent black women judges in Dallas County, and I hope to bring that same mentorship to up-and-coming young Latino lawyers.
Mm-hmm. And 2 minutes for our closing statements.
Oh, I get more time.
Yes,
Great,
ma'am.
fantastic. This never
All
happens
right.
in court.
Right.
All right, so a little
Maybe
bit.
I should run for office. No. Sorry.
Well,
We're good.
come on. You started one of those down ballot races, Mr. Williams. Okay. Going back to that resume, though, and some of those bullet points, and this is important. I talked a little bit about my experience as a family violence prosecutor. I tried both misdemeanor level cases as well as felony level cases. So we're talking about not days in county jail, although any time a person's liberty is deprived is serious. We're talking years behind bars where lives had been lost and lives were and futures were at stake. I believe having that perspective and full understanding of our criminal system is key in any bench. As a felony family violence prosecutor, I handled over 500 felony level charges. I was also invited not once, but 3 times to be a presenter at the Conference on Crimes Against Women, which is sponsored by Genesis Women's Shelter, where I presented a case study on how an abuser had successfully manipulated our system against his victim, costing a woman more than 150 days in jail. He fooled the police, the judge, the probation officers, the prosecutors, and that included myself. On a bit of a personal note, as a young person, I had a father who was locked up and he spent some time in prison. I was born to a young teen mom who sometimes that meant taking up an extra job so that Christmas was there, but I was always safe and protected. Unfortunately, there were people in my family that didn't have that experience, and our trajectories were very different. I'm proud to say that I have the support of each and every single one of my family members, regardless of where their walks in life have taken them. But I think it's important that we have people sitting in our judiciary that reflect the people coming before them and understand what those various challenges can be when sometimes you might be worried about how your next meal is going to get there or who might be coming over that night. So it's with that I ask you all for your support. My name is Alyssa Wev, first on the ballot for County Criminal Court 10. Webforjudge.com is my website. Have a happy Valentine's Day.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much. Ms. Huff.
Thank you for your time. Thank you for listening to me. I believe that I am the most experienced candidate for this job. I believe that my background, that social work, that specialized background of working in domestic violence shelters and working with victims, understanding their needs and their fears, has made me specially suited for not re-traumatizing those victims when they have to come to court and unfortunately when they have to sometimes testify in trial. I also believe that my experience, my 13 years of legal experience, working with indigent individuals as well as private hire clients that have been charged with family violence offenses, gives me that unique perspective of understanding what it's like going through the criminal justice system and what it's like when you were in a situation where you were frustrated and overwhelmed by your emotions, and now you have to be held accountable for them. And that's what I offer as a judge as well, accountability. I want to provide something new. I want to provide something different to those charged with those family violence offenses so that they are not repeating the cycle in the criminal justice system. I don't want this to be the first of many touches with the law where they continue to, when they get that first conviction, they end up coming back over and over again. I also think that I'm a different candidate because the mindset of a prosecutor is just totally different from the mindset of an individual who is a defense attorney. And I think that I have that little bit closer connection to individuals that will be coming to the court to understand some of their needs and what they're dealing with when they come into court. I understand I'm not a Spanish speaker, but I do understand that many of the individuals that will come in that court, in fact, do need Spanish and translation services. But the record that is made in these courts will always be made in English. So I am committed to making sure those translator services are provided because the situation is 10 times more overwhelming in a court when you don't actually understand the language and the process going on. I'm asking for your support, that you take that background of social work and experience that I have and vote for me, Monique Bracey Huff, for Judge of Dallas County Criminal Court number 10. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Monique Bracey Huff and Ms. Alyssa Webb, candidates for Dallas County Criminal Court at Law number 10. Thank you both for showing up tonight and doing such a great job. Okay, thank you. And welcome to Monday Night Politics, brought to you by the Dallas Examiner, an open forum for candidates for, in this case tonight, judicial races, attempting as best we can to have these candidates familiarize you, our listeners and viewers, not only with them and their candidacy, but with just what it is that their courts do, the function of those courts, and how critical it is that you be aware enough of that to make a wise decision on Election Day. We have with us tonight, as candidate for Dallas County Criminal Court at Law number 4, Ms. Angel Mata. Okay, Angel Mata. Thank you, my pleasure.
Thank you so much for spending your Valentine's with me today. Again, my name is Angel Mata. I am running for County Criminal Court number 4. I'm running on my ability to be fair, my ability to be compassionate, and most importantly, on my experience. I have been a practicing attorney now for 12 years. I graduated SMU Dedman School of Law here in Dallas. And there's a saying that the best defense attorneys are prosecutors first. And so right out of law school, I went and I prosecuted for 4 years. So I did that in McLennan County, and then I left in Dallas County. For the last 8 years, I have been a defense attorney, and I've done everything from Class C tickets all the way up to murder cases. So I have my own practice doing criminal defense. In addition to that, I was actually appointed a bench 7 years ago. So on top of my practice, I'm also a municipal judge out in the city of Hutchins. If you've ever gone down 45, it's right south of Dallas. So I've been doing that now for 7 years. I am a Dallas native. I grew up not too far from here. If you just go down Sayin or Military, I grew up in Pleasant Grove. I'm a graduate of Skyline High School. And I grew up, I'll tell you, in the streets of Pleasant Grove, and I saw the injustices that were happening to family, to friends, and that's what inspired me to be an attorney. That's what inspired me to now run for a bench. I've been out in the community, whether it's marching on the footsteps in Austin. In undergrad, I interned in law school, I interned for the ACLU. And then currently I go out to schools and I speak about police interactions to our youth to ensure that they get home safely when they're dealing with the police. Again, Angel Mata for County Criminal Court number 4.
Ms. Mata, you've heard some of the earlier races, and we've talked about diversion programs and other efficiency measures, virtual courts, and those kind of things. What about your candidacy, and should you be elected, will make a dramatic improvement in the way this court functions?
Absolutely. So I'll tell you this about Dallas County courts. So there are a number of different pretrial diversion programs throughout the courts. For example, Judge Kelly had the homeless diversion court for homeless people that I volunteered at. You have Judge Birmingham with the AIM court. You have drug court. But one thing that disqualifies people from the courts is a language barrier. If you don't speak English, you don't qualify for any pretrial diversion program in Dallas. Whether you're speaking Spanish, whether you're speaking Mandarin or anything else, you do not qualify hands down because they don't have a translator for you. So what I want to see is, so we have a pretrial diversion court that can bring in some translators to allow these people, allow our community to be able to have access to pretrial diversion programs, because we're leaving out a large segment of the community by not allowing them and welcoming them into second chance programs, and we need to give everybody a second chance.
And I think I've framed this question a couple of times in other races, and I guess I'm going to ask you to kind of point fingers. Why it's not happening?
Why it's not happening, I'm not really certain. So I'll tell you this. So in our community, we're made up, and one of the other candidates mentioned it, you have about 40 to 45% of our community is Latino. But if you go down to that courthouse, there's only one Latino judge in that whole courthouse out of 29 courts. So I'm not really certain why. We don't have the number of people, the representation in our courthouse. And so when you go down there, there's not one single form that's not in English. Everything is in English, whether it's an Arab speaker, whether it's a Spanish speaker. What we need to do is ensure that they can read the documents, that we have the interpreters, we have the translators down there for them. So it's a really big issue, and I'm not really certain why it hasn't happened. I mean, it's easy as getting one document, getting an interpreter to translate it one time, copy it, and have it there forever. But not one court in that whole courthouse has any documentation in any other language besides English. Not certain why it's not being done, but that's something that I want to ensure that happens in my court, that my court is open to the whole community, not just a segment.
Well, given your very graphic description of the lack of diversity, if you will, on the bench, give us your thoughts on on elected versus appointed judges. It just came up in this last legislative session, and so I think the public needs to know that this is an issue, and that they should have a position and have some knowledge about what's going on.
No, absolutely. One of the biggest issues that we have is that the state of Texas is still a red state. It's still mostly run by Republicans, and so what you have is a Republican governor that oftentimes will appoint a Republican judge to sit in these benches. In a city or a county, Dallas County, that's all blue. We're all Democrats, but we'll have, because they're appointed, we'll have a Republican put in the place of where a Democrat normally would be elected. So I support elected judges.
This just occurred to me, so I haven't thought all the way through this question, but so partisanship in judge races, how does that work? I mean, just judges, right?
Exactly.
So why are there Democrats and Republican judges, and what is the difference, and what do you find to be the difference?
Well, I've always thought the exact same thing. Why are we, if we're supposed to be fair, if we're supposed to ensure that justice is the same throughout, it shouldn't make a difference whether the person is Republican or Democrat, but it does. Unfortunately, what we're seeing when we have some of these Republican judges, that they come in and they're a lot more conservative on sentences. They have less pretrial diversion programs, and so they don't align with our community. And so that's the biggest issue, that when you have the Republican versus the Democrats, and I think it's important for our community to know in which way that they align, whether or not they're going to be a conservative judge and throwing people in prison, locking them away, not giving them second chances, or are they the Democrats who give second chances, understand the community and the needs of Dallas County.
Okay, so in your closing statement, tell us why the election of Angel Mata will result in a better functioning Dallas County Criminal Court at Law Number 4.
Perfect. Well, apart from my experience, I am the most experienced in this race, but I'm also an advocate for the community. I do a great deal of volunteering, and that's something that I really pride myself on. Back in 2015, I made a goal to make sure that I give back more. I'd been giving back already, but I wanted to make sure that I was out there more in the community. And some of the different initiatives that I've been involved in, and one of the ones that I really pride myself on is I volunteer every month, and I've been doing so for the last 7 years at the C.A.W. Clark Legal Clinic in South Dallas at the Good Street Baptist Church. It's one of the only locations, there's only 3 or 4 locations where the great Dr. Martin Luther King spoke at, and I'm out there every single month providing free expunctions, providing information. I won the Volunteer Award of the Year in 2019. In 2015, I won an award for being a volunteer there. And I also won the Martin Luther King Dreamkeeper Award. I give back a great deal. I've been involved in the Homeless Diversion Court. I've been involved in the Dallas Expunction Expo, which really helped our community in clearing their records so they can get jobs. So I've been involved in the Expunction Expo in Dallas County, in Tarrant County, and through the DVAP program. It's really important to me that we give back to our community, that we help our community, and that's one of the reasons why I'm running for a judge. My experience, my compassion, my activism, and I am an advocate for criminal justice reform.
Outstanding, outstanding. So thank you so much, Angel Mata, candidate for Dallas County Criminal Court at Law number 4. Thank you so much for being with us tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks, ma'am. Okay. And next up, we will have Dallas County Probate Court number 2. Thank you again for joining us tonight for our Valentine's Day edition of Monday Night Politics, brought to you by the Dallas Examiner. We've had an interesting night, I think, an informative night, walking through various judicial races in Dallas County Court at Law, Dallas County Criminal Court at Law, and now Dallas County Probate Court. So we've been trying to inform our viewers and listeners about just what are the functions of those courts. We'll do the same thing tonight when we talk to our candidates here. We have with us the incumbent Judge Ingrid Warren and the challenger, Ms. Lanasha House. Thank you both for being with us tonight. We'll give 2 minutes for opening statements. We'll start with you, Judge Warren.
Good evening. Thank you, Mr. O'Neill, for the opportunity to present to you all today. Likewise, thank you to the Dallas Examiner and to the Belt family for their commitment to educating the community. My name is Ingrid Michelle Warren, and I was born here in Dallas, Texas. Especially or particularly at Baylor Hospital. I graduated from Law Magnet High School, which is now Judge Barefoot Sanders High School. I left there and continued in public school, graduated from Texas A&M University. Thereafter, I attended the University of Texas School of Law. I knew from the time that I went to high school that I wanted to be a judge, but I never thought I would have the opportunity. But with your help, 8 years ago, you elected me. And I thank you for that. And I'm asking for your support again today. I'm asking for your support again today because we've worked really hard in probate court. We've worked really hard to make sure that we are a calming voice to families in grief. Probate court handles the affairs of the deceased. We deal with guardianships. We also deal with trust. As a matter of fact, I have a family right now who can't wait until this election is over so that I can deal with a large trust issue that's waiting for their family that needs to be resolved by mid-March. But until then, I am committed to this process. I'm committed to what it's all about. While on the bench, I've worked really hard in order to make sure that your cases are heard. Last year, we heard over, let me step back. I signed over 9,000 orders, more orders than any probate court in Dallas County. I am one of 19 statutory probate judges in the state of Texas. I've served in this role for 2 terms. I have been asked in this role to educate other judges on what it means to be a probate judge. I've been asked to talk to legislatures about legislation on this issue, and so I ask you for that opportunity again.
Thank you so much. Ms. House.
Good evening. My name is Lanasha House, and I'm a candidate running for Probate Court number 2. A little bit about me. I have been practicing law for over 15 years. I'm a Howard University School of Law graduate. I'm also a TCU graduate. Wasn't born here in Dallas, but I like to say I got here as soon as I could. I was born in Marshall, Texas. My parents are Wiley College graduates, and so I was therefore raised in East Texas. And so I am a native Texan. I am running for this bench because when I worked at the probate courts, which is a little bit of my history, I noticed that there were some administrative and policies and procedures that needed to change. I respect Judge Warren, respect her experience, and I respect that she does know the law. And so as we go through this tonight, I want you all to know that this race is not about her qualifications nor about my qualifications to run for this bench. This race is about administrative processes and procedures and how we differ on how the courts should proceed moving forward. And to give you a little bit of background of what I did for the courts, I served as the Director of Operations for the probate courts. And during that time period, I actually worked with all 3 judges, and I also oversaw the Dallas County Court Investigator's Office. That was pre-pandemic and during the pandemic. And during that role, what my job was to do is to make sure that indigent clients and individuals who had incapacities or were some kind of way maybe injured through a traumatic brain injury or Alzheimer's, they had the help that they needed to make their medical decisions. And this was very important, as you can imagine, during COVID. That experience showed me that there are some administrative processes that need to change, and I'm here asking you all for the opportunity to evoke those changes and to be the agent of change that probate court number 2 needs.
Ms. House, now you may have to correct me on this, but this may be a court that's really, really important to black people. Dying intestate is something that we like to do, apparently, right? So how will your candidacy, should you be elected, begin to, 1, educate the public to what that court really serves, the purpose it really serves, and how will your, you alluded to administrative issues that you'd like to see changed in the court. How will you make it smooth?
Okay. Thank you. And let me also kind of clarify what you're saying about
Please do.
dying intestate. So I'm a preacher's kid, grew up in the Baptist church. My dad is the CME preacher now. And one of the main issues that we have in our community is that a lot of people don't do estate planning. So what does that mean? That means when grandma passed away, the family continues to live in the home, but they don't have the title to the house. They might not even have insurance for the house. Or if brother or sister passes away, if there isn't a will, who gets to access the bank account to get the money, to pay the bills? All of these things are important issues that individuals may not plan for until maybe it's too late. So ways that I would like to help our community is what I'm already doing right now. I have already, through OCBF, Oak Cliff Bible Fellowship, I've already helped with will planning. I already donate my time and services and pro bono. A lot of times for indigent clients, offer estate planning. I don't let anyone leave my office with just a will. I make sure they have a durable power of attorney, a medical power of attorney, a HIPAA release form, and a will, because I want them to be able to take care of their family while they're alive and when they pass away. And I think that is the key component, is education. We need to make sure that there are more minority attorneys, more new attorneys who understand what probate law is. And so that is one of the platforms that I'm running on. I am wanting to increase the amount of CLEs and the amount of education within our community for attorneys who may not know probate, so that they can go back out into the community and help and provide resources for those individuals who may not be able to afford a top-tier law firm. And if we have more individuals that have that background and have that ability, then we'll have the ability for people to go back out and help those people that they know and love. And hopefully that will decrease the amount of people having to come into probate court confused, and hopefully that will increase the amount of estate planning that we in the community are already doing.
Very good. Thank you so much. Judge Warren, same question, but this has turned out to be pretty, I mean, it's important to me. It's fun to me. This is the best one so far tonight. Save the best one for last. This one resonates with our community. So sure. Walk us through how you're being returned to the bench, Will.
Thank you for that. The reason why I'm a probate judge and the reason why I ran for this particular bench and not any other civil bench is because this is where I see the rubber meeting the road. When I think about African American families and I think about the wealth gap, you see the wealth gap occurring more in African American families. When I practiced law, I worked with a number of churches, well over 25, 30 or more. And that was so that I could spread the word and talk to people about how important it is in order to make sure that you plan. If you don't plan, the state has a plan for you, and it may not be your plan. And so when we talk about making sure that African American families are able to capture the wealth that we already have, it is how can we transition assets quickly from one generation to the next. And that is why I ran for probate court, because this is a court where I can help families. This is a court where I can be a part of the process to minimize the delay. And one of the things that I've done since I've been on this court is that I realized when I ran 8 years ago, and you all were helpful in getting me elected, and I'm grateful for that opportunity, what I realized is that there needed to be a change in these courts, and I've been a part of that change. One of the things that we've done is the director of probate court operations, we were able to double the salary for that position so that we could get a qualified individual for that job. Not only that, we've expanded our staff by 75%. And also, we've been able to add an additional judge for each court so that we can hear more cases. That's how we were able to sign 9,000 orders and hear on average 50-something cases a week on a 52-week schedule.
You kind of referenced it, and I want you to kind of expand on it. You said, if you don't have a plan, the state has one. What does that look like when the state is the big bad wolf?
Well, it depends on the scenario, whether or not you die as a married person or as a single person, and whether or not you have children. What it looks like, more importantly, is that it's not what you wanted. It's not what you planned. And that is why I encourage each of you listening to me today to make sure that you have a will. I know it's not something we like to think about, but it's something that's important for our families. Whether you are leaving money to your family members or whether you're leaving money to a to an organization, whether it's your church. My church is Concord. Concord will get something when I pass away, or whether it is the school that you graduated from. You have to plan in order to make sure it happens. And what I'd like to see happen with our community is that we do more of that, so that we capture our wealth and we pass it along from one generation to the next intentionally.
Very good. Thank you so much. Ms. House, would you like to take a stab at that? What's your experience been when we don't have a plan?
I actually agree with Judge Warren with this. A lot of times when individuals do not have a plan, Dallas County, the state, will create that plan for them. And what that means sometimes is that there could be a foreclosure on the home because individuals haven't had the opportunity to pay the taxes. Or someone passed away and Dallas County doesn't know about it. The family and relatives may be in another state. And then there's blight on the property, and the county will continue to charge those individuals for keeping up that property. And that's another reason that a property could end up being lost with regard to generational wealth. And so I do believe that one of the key components in making sure that we as a community understand the importance of estate planning is education. We have to get out there and inform people that even though this is a down ballot race, this impacts everyone in Dallas County. No matter how much we want to discuss it, everyone is going to pass away eventually. And none of us know what that day will be, only God knows. And so the best way, especially if COVID hasn't taught us anything at all whatsoever, we never know what tomorrow promises. We never know if your family member is going to be ill. And the best way to protect your family members, to protect your children, to ensure that your wealth is taken care of and will pass down for generations and generations is to do the necessary planning. And if you don't have the money to do that, call up your local bar association, call up legal aid, call me, call up individuals who are willing to help you and willing to provide those services. I know many law offices will even provide free or pro bono services for senior citizens. There are so many opportunities available. Just reach out to us and we'll be able to help you with the estate planning process.
Very good. And in your closing statement, describe to us how Dallas County Probate Court number 2 will be improved by your election.
Thank you so much. Well, as I stated earlier, I believe that the difference here between myself and my opponent is simply the differences in processes and procedures. And I believe that there needs to be a change with the processes and procedures because the attorneys have said so. Dallas Bar Association Judicial Poll has said that the processes and procedures for this particular court are inefficient and don't overall approve of it. You all can look that up. You can look up what the ratings are for all of the judges, so I won't focus on that particularly. My website is lanasha4judge.com, which discusses all of my platform, and here are a few of the items that are listed there. I want to increase the court transparency. I would like to have the attorney ad litem list actually posted on the court's website so that individuals can know what attorneys are getting court appointments. I would like to comply with the Texas Government Code with regard to attorney appointments and who would be next on the wheel to get an appointment from the court. In addition, I would like to increase the employee retention. At this point in time, this court has the lowest employee retention of all 3 courts, which is really disappointing considering that Dallas County has a 200% matching rate for employees. I believe the way to improve that is to make sure that all of the employees are cross-trained, increase their ability to be able to work remotely if they have some family emergencies or health circumstances, and also to ensure that they are able to take their vacation and sick days. I would like to improve community outreach and increase that. Now, the court has, when I was working with the court, there was a probate summer school CLE, and it was very, very productive, and I would like to continue to do that to increase the opportunities from what we just discussed in the community for people to know the importance of estate planning and the importance of getting your documents done while you're able and while you have the mental capacity. Again, my name is Lanasha Howes. I am respectfully requesting your vote for probate court number 2. Please visit my website for more information.
Thank you. Judge Warren, how will the court be improved by your being returned to the bench?
Yes, sir. The court will benefit by returning me to the bench because it will promote consistency. Consistency matters in this position. Consistency matters with the attorneys, and consistency matters with the people that are coming before it in terms of an administrative function. We've worked diligently in order to make sure these courts were improved. For years before I got on the bench, the probate courts were considered the stepchildren of all of the courts. We're in a totally different building. Our building was not, we were in the records building, and I don't know if you all have been by the records building now, but it's been totally remodeled, and we're waiting on our new space, which is going to be in George Allen. And one of the things that I'd like to do as part of that consistency is to continue to work with the administration to improve the courts. The changes that I'm talking about are infrastructure changes, not cosmetic changes. We've talked about things, and we've made some cosmetic changes in order to make things easier and smoother for lawyers. And what I'd like to do going forward is to make sure that the administration and the county administrators have been very responsive with this, understand that what we need is a 4th probate court. We hear, probate court number 2 hears more than 37.5% of all the cases in Dallas County, and that's a lot. We are very busy. We were there every single day during the pandemic, not at home, but in court. And we were there because you all needed us, and that's when you needed us the most. And so I'd like to be able to continue those efforts because we are working towards a plan. And this is a plan that's a strategic plan in order to make sure that the citizens of Dallas County are served. One other thing I'd like to point out is, we've worked really hard. Those efforts are starting to come to fruition. And with your help, I pray, and with God's support, we will be able to continue to do that going forward. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We have candidates for Dallas County Probate Court number 2, the challenger, Ms. Lanasha Howes. Thank you so much. And Judge, the incumbent, Judge Ingrid Warren. Thank you so much for being with us tonight. Thank you so much. My pleasure here. The real HU.
Okay.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us tonight at the Monday Night Politics for Dallas Examiner's a forum provided to encourage education about the political process for our community. Also, join us next next Monday for Monday Night Politics here at the African American Museum. Thank you so much. Happy Valentine's Day.